Art is important to society because it is the way that we express ourselves.
Art is my language for happiness or for sorrow, for justice and peace, against hate.
I think it's important to share art because art for me is like a little piece of me. People get to see different facets of my mind.
I want to create artwork that will bring us together so that we could see each other's human spirit and have that connection.
The antithesis of depression is expression.
There's something so freeing and so magical about not having to exist as anything but exactly what you are.
15 seconds.
When you walk into Reach Studio, it does not matter where you've been, it doesn't matter where you're going, you're just a human.
Apparently, I need to do some mixed media art as well.
2 claps on 2, 1, 2. My name is Mo Graham. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator here at RedLine Contemporary Art Center. Reach is a program here at RedLine where any community partner who is supporting humans who are dealing with life circumstances, we have a space for them to be able to create artwork where the bar and barrier to entry is very, very low. We provide all of the materials, we provide the space, and all that matters is enjoying oneself for a short amount of time before they have to go back out into the world.
To me, what draws me to Reach is not the space, it's my fellow artists that are there. To be a part of a community as we all grow together, doing art and welcoming other people of the community as well.
We're gonna do this drawing exercise. So in your tables, you have caddies, you have oil pastels, you have a wide range of materials.
So that's what I'm drawing. So it's a picture frame.
Reach is this wonderful group at RedLine that's been able to bring together artists from all different stripes, all different walks of life into this space, be able to create together, be able to have a lot of different opportunities.
Now, any person who's participated in the REACH program for up to 6 months, they are now eligible to participate in the Core Artist program. And the REACH Core Artist program is for any person who is interested to learn how to sell their artwork or further develop their creative practice with the intention that they might be able to create a business or generate a profit from the things that they create.
I love my core artist family. They're so supportive, so nice and caring. I'd heard so many stories of starving artists that I was like, it's just a distant dream. And RedLine's definitely helped me realize that it's very tangible.
We now have this sort of connection but also delineation between Reach Studio, where we just all come together and we're able to create, and then the Core Artist program is a path to that professional freedom.
And what we do in this space is we work on building our craft so that way we can generate a revenue that supports this creativity that we all have. So there's a lot to accomplish. The human experience is very different for everybody, and that flexibility can be very, very important and valuable for people. And so if you create a life for yourself and you create a way to generate a revenue for yourself that allows you that autonomy over your time and allows you that flexibility, really beautiful things can happen from that, and there's a lot of great opportunity that can happen from that as well.
What I love about Cristal's work is that there is such potency in storytelling that comes through. Every time you look at one of her images, you get this sense that's just even beyond words, even beyond what you can perceive in that moment. And then when she goes and explains it, it just opens up an entirely new level.
I've honestly probably only talked to Cristal in person in the last week, and she's been one of the friendliest people I've met here. But the weird thing is, despite not really talking to her, I've been looking at her artwork all the time, and it's like she's one of my favorite artists here, and I didn't even know who was making these art pieces. Like, she really goes big, and I love that about her, like just the way it's so beautiful. I love her drawing skills. She's a very talented artist, and a lot of her art style reminds me of like what I see myself doing more of in the next few years. She's very inspiring for me.
It's hard for me to say exactly what themes I paint about. Just about anything that moves me somehow, I will paint it. I've painted a lot about experiences of being homeless. I had been homeless from escaping that abusive person with my daughter when she was little. I would go draw at a park. In order to stay somewhere, I would go and draw all night. I would draw on the napkin or whatever. I kept the art alive, or it kept me alive, actually. I've tried to do other things in my life, and I always go back to art somehow. And it's just a part of who I am. My name is Cristal Carolina, and I'm an artist. My father has been an artist all his life, and then, I grew up observing him do his artwork. I noticed the things that he painted about, especially about police brutality. He was painting images of the KKK and just using art to give voice to different types of struggles and injustices, and also to give hope. And so I've just tried to create art like that all my life. I believe that art could give voice to people who are not normally heard, that can make a difference. And so that's what I learned that art could be used for. Yeah, we're at my daughter and son-in-law's house. They've been kind enough to let me use this room as a studio. And so we're in 5 Points, Denver. So I am going to paint the violin red to match the chest of the quetzal, which is a beautiful bird from Central America and Mexico. It's almost like the peace dove to us. I love colors. I love different mediums, such as oil and acrylic. I love to draw, and observing my father, always drawing his idea first and then, applying it to the mural. That's kind of what I learned. And then other times I would just go for it. Different paint and different mediums will determine the effect of that painting. This painting is titled Promise. I painted it in 2017. It kind of shows a woman, maybe such as myself or my sister or cousins or something. They're kind of being almost strangled by things like racism. The so-called figure of justice, that iconic image of a woman holding the scales of justice. But justice for who is what I'm asking for? Is justice for women who've experienced brutality and hatred? Or is it only for certain people? I've had exes tell me, your art is not going to make a difference. I don't know why you're doing that art. Someone actually hit me and would beat me up. He was really jealous of my artwork. That made me question the artwork that I was doing, that I wanted to do. I think it was after that I started working, with the children. I worked with people recovering from addiction, and I would be drawing their pictures. As I was drawing them and talking with them, making that human connection, and they helped me realize, wow, art is so powerful. It's helping me heal. I left him because I knew he was going to kill me or my daughter. He threatened to kill my father once. He threatened to kill himself. I realized, let him kill me. I cannot live without dignity if I stay with him. The art is a reflection of different points in the artist's life, in my life. Maybe she's given life, maybe she's asking for life. Maybe she's asking for forgiveness or giving forgiveness. She could be a shoplifter. She could have handcuffs on. Or she could be receiving something. And so I like how it could be interpreted different ways. I'm looking for just the right brush. The only living that I make is through my artwork, and so I'm really happy about that. I look back on my life at that, single mom who was working so hard at different jobs at the same time, escaping violence. I would tell her, you're doing the right thing. And that's good that your art is part of that right thing. Art is so important in society. There's just so much hate, so much violence and corruption and greed and disparity. Art is my language, for happiness or for sorrow, for justice and peace against hate. I want to create artwork that will bring us together so that we could see each other's human spirit and have that connection. I think that the art that Matt does is phenomenal. It is so spiritual and moving. It teaches such a beautiful lesson about our own spirituality and kind of our role in the universe. I just see Matt as such a friend to everyone, and also, like a brother and a fellow artist.
I've definitely learned a lot about what it means to work on art a lot, if that makes sense. Like, I see him constantly drawing, and I just see him constantly bettering his skills, and evolving as an artist, which I think is very cool.
I've always been drawn to the hero's journey at different parts of my life. I've always loved storytelling. In the corner here, we have this dove, which represents redemption. I call this crucified entity of id, and it features Siegfried, who's a dragon slayer. I specifically remember going to Barnes and Nobles, and they have the mythology book, right? Then you crack it open, it's just Greek mythology, which Greek is awesome and everything like that, but myth is so much broader than that. Every region of the world has mythic representations, and I think that's really deep and really speaks to the universalness of these different myths, ways that tie into the human psyche. And so that's something that I really want to tap into and express through the artwork. This one was inspired by a dream that my wife Elena had, where these winged supernatural beings going on this adventure together. My name's Matt Mays. I'm a visual artist. I specialize in surreal mythical art. Art is important to society because it is the way that we express ourselves. The antithesis of depression is expression. When I was about 7 years old, I was playing this video game with my best friend at the time, and we're taking a break, and we go up to his attic. He presents me with a pencil and paper, and I had the cover of the Mario game in my hand. And so I was sitting there and trying to emulate all the lines on the cover, and I just had this amazingly euphoric feeling. You just want to do it over and over and over again. So that's the feeling that I've been chasing ever since. Asperger's is something that has affected my journey since I was about 18. Asperger's is a neurological condition. It's often termed as being on the spectrum. At the time, I was going through a ton of mood swings. I was socially awkward. I would get so anxious in front of people. I was just severely depressed at the time. Art and music were really the only things that I could hold on to. We're in my studio, which I call this because it's half study and half studio. This is the Lakshmi piece from the Goddess series that I'm working on right now, and she's part of the Hindu Triumvirate, and she represents abundance. And one of the trade-off benefits of that is just this hyper focus, right? And that's something that I'd say is pretty characteristic of people with Asperger's. For me, happens to be art. I just genuinely down to my bones, love art. And I don't want people to feel pity. That's actually something that has held me back from announcing to the world that I have Asperger's, frankly. It's like, I just want you to treat me like a normal person. I want people to see me as I am.
Okay, I'm about to turn the lights off now.
Meditation has been very important to me for a number of years because it's a way for me to get centered with myself, be able to cut out a lot of the noise. So the meditation space itself, for me, is a place of beauty. It's a sanctuary that I can go to daily and immerse myself, refresh myself, remind myself of that beauty every single day. Becoming who I am as an artist today just started with what I love. I'll want to start with curiosity and base it around an idea or say a concept, something like the Goddess series that I'm working on right now. So I'll start out somewhat smaller, start with a sketchbook, a piece of paper, something like that. And then I'll get the very detailed sketch, do the acrylic paint on there, and sometimes I'll even throw in some Micron artist pen, and I'll really go until it's all very clean, until it's all very detailed. There always arrives a point in the piece where I feel that there's like a presence in it, where it has its own personality, or there's a life coming through it. I want to bring out the very soul of every piece that I do. So this is Xavier, this is my son. He has this koala, this is Campbell, he has an eagle, this is Gray, he has this wolf, and then there's me in the center there, because I am the bit master. Advice that I would give to my younger self is some advice that my dad has given me for years. One of the most important things that he's taught me is persistence. It's not your brains, it's not your level of skill, it's just keeping on going. If I could see back then where I am right now, I kind of live for that self. Like I feel like in a lot of ways, I live to avenge that 18-year-old depressed kid that didn't know where he was going, didn't know his true self, and wish that then I could see now, looking back on the road, leading up to this point right now, makes all the difference. And to know that art led me here.
Well, when I first met Cassiana, it was when she was painting that painting right over there. And I was like, wow, I love the watercolors and everything that she was painting. Her art reflects who she is. And so I've been really impressed by her story and her strength. It's amazing.
What I've seen about Cassie's work reflects this deep vibrance. The artwork is a portal into her mind, and that speaks to a level of richness and depth and vibrance that comes through her, and there's just more and more and more that comes out.
I kind of just start painting for the most part. I think art is important to me because it's the only thing that's kind of permanent. Like you go way, way, way back in time. The things we remember from cavemen were the wall paintings in the caves. From the Renaissance, all of this art is just kind of how humanity's been able to look back. I think it's very important how much art really depicts what's going on in a human's mind. I really feel like it's kind of like a language on its own, like it comes from your heart. So art has kind of been a way for me to express what's going on in my mind. I think of it as like a portal into my mind. This is what I enjoy doing, making these weird shapes, I guess. My name is Cassiana Sabeni. I go by Cassie. I live in Denver, Colorado. I go to school nearby in the Auraria campus. I'm a biology major, kind of focusing on environmental science, and I work as an artist part-time at RedLine. I feel like I've always believed I'm an artist internally. I've been creating artwork since I was a tiny child. It's always been kind of innate in me to make art because it relaxes me. I draw a lot of female faces, kind of like on my assignments. Here I kind of drew a flower with an eyeball on my homework. I just love eyes, I love colors. Like around my room you can tell there's a lot of like patterns. My mom is Indian. In the Indian culture, there's a lot of like scarves and cloths and saris, which are just colorful, very colorful. But my dad also, he's Nigerian, and in Nigerian culture, a lot of the headdress and clothing is also very colorful. So I try and put as much colors into my artwork. This is when I was still into acrylics. It was exhibited and it got sold off the wall. I started off with a lot of acrylic medium, but I also didn't really like using acrylic because it's kind of like liquid plastic, and as a biology major who's very passionate about environmental science, I wasn't really proud of myself. While I was at the gallery one day, I found a little watercolor container and I started like experimenting with it and messing with it, and I started creating these whole new different pieces that were so organic to me. That's the thing you need to remember. If it looks bad, just add more water and it'll blend in. I try to put a lot of my emotions about the current state of things into my artwork, from the feeling of like dread of like, oh my gosh, our planet is burning up, to the simple beauty of the world, from like flowers, the sky, colors in general. I feel like I'm connected to nature because we as humans wouldn't exist before the animals, and then before the animals wouldn't exist before the plants, and then just go smaller and smaller and smaller. The first organism was like a tiny microorganism. Like the fact that I'm 60% genetically the same as a banana is kind of like, you know, maybe the whole world, all the plants and stuff have a connection to me. So yeah, here's an apple that I was working on shading in the beginning, so it's been a more rough of a sketch. I think this is like a woman from behind. I love painting bodies, especially feminine figures. I love painting about women in general, how it feels to be a woman that's exploited. I grew up in California. I started dating the wrong guy and he started making my life a living hell. He stalked me, harassed me, would show up at my job, just made things very hard to deal with. And eventually, as the violence and scary stuff kept on happening, and it no longer became just me and him, but it became my family got affected, my other friends got affected. That's when I knew that like something had to change. So I had to come up here to hide. Thankfully he's in prison for 5 years now, which is fantastic because I don't have to feel unsafe ever again. But I decided to stay up here because I really like Colorado, and I honestly feel safe here. I really hide a lot of the information about how I came to Colorado. I don't like people looking at me as a victim. I'd just rather move on and show how strong I am. But we're just human, and life can be hard sometimes, but anybody can get out there and make a name for themselves if they just suddenly think to themselves like, hey, you know what? I deserve better. I deserve to do something better with my life. This is more of the stuff that like represents like me, but I wouldn't be able to tell you this is what I'm going to paint. I think it's important to share art because art for me is like a little piece of me. When I put more artwork on exhibits, people get to see different facets of my mind. Art has really helped me look into my emotions, kind of see what's going on in my mind, because sometimes I feel like there's a lot of thoughts and things I want to say that are in my head, but I can't really say it. I really feel like it's a language on its own.
So this is a spontaneous lesson in oil painting. It's just kind of an experiment to just paint whatever we want on this canvas. And so now we're just gonna start painting and having fun.